Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more detailed videos. Gregory Greg Chilak is a new cast member in the wide world of 90 Day Fiancé, and while he is racing to the altar with Joan Cruikshank, I couldn't help but find some similarities between Greg and his mother Lucille and former cast member Colt Johnson and his mother Debbie Johnson. Greg is a 35-year-old baker from Islip Terrace, New York. Joan is a 26-year-old nonprofit, non-governmental organization, NGO, director from Kampala, Uganda. Greg had met Joan on a trip to Uganda. While they lost touch for a year and a half when he returned to the U.S., Joan had looked him up on social media. They chatted for a few months until Greg went to Uganda to propose to Joan. I believe that Greg should have considered his living situation at home before he asked Joan to marry him. Greg still lived with his mom because he could not afford a home on his own. He had plenty of time to get a steady job and look for an apartment rental while Joan's K-1 got approved, but I'm sure Greg enjoyed getting his mom to do his work. He was dependent on his mother just like Colt had been at one point in his life. During his introduction, Greg talked about how he loved Long Island. He talked about loving driving in Long Island even though it became aggressive at times. There was still so much to do, and so many people, and there was always something going on. Greg explained that the average starter home on Long Island is probably anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000. According to Greg, he was nowhere near that position to put down a deposit on a family home for sure. Joan kind of is a little skeptical about it. Greg laughed that his current living situation involved living at home with his mother in Long Island. He added that as much as he loved his mom, she was a huge lock. Greg explained that Joan was skeptical about living with Greg and Lucille as she wanted her own place where she could have her privacy for them and a place where they could just be themselves together. Colt has lived with his mother, Debbie, for the majority of his life, and his relationship with his mother played a significant role in the mounting issues between him and Larissa. When Larissa touched down in Las Vegas, she wasted no time in making it clear that she wanted to distance herself from Debbie. Her decision was firm, and she was ready to start fresh on her own. However, as they began the process of searching for new places to live, the tension became palpable. It quickly became apparent that both Colt and Debbie struggled with the idea of being separated. The situation was emotionally charged, and it was clear that finding a resolution was not going to be easy. During a casual chat with his mom, Greg asked what she'd done throughout the day. Lucille replied that she went to the pool with their dog. Lucille had hung the laundry on the line, which included Greg's clothes, such as his shirts. She pointed out that Greg had so much dirty laundry piled up in his room. Lucille told the cameras that she was still babying her son. It's not something she was even denying to save her son from the embarrassment. Do I, baby Craig, spoil him? Maybe a little. Lucille explained how she liked to have a nice meal cooked for Greg. She would go to his room and scoop up all his clothes when she was doing her own laundry. She would clean his bathroom and his room when he left. She would put out the garbage and finish the dishes and the sink as well. At one point, Greg even asked his mother to fetch him water on the show, and she willingly rushed to the kitchen to do so. Lucille even fed Greg a piece of carrot from her plate. Greg was hoping Joan would be cool with the fact that they were possibly going to be living with his mother for a year, up to 2 years. Lucille claimed she wanted to observe how Joan treated him in person and how Joan talked to him. She thought Greg could be naive in relationships, and Lucille feared that he was being taken advantage of because he was very generous and caring. She observed Greg had been alone in his room the whole time, and suddenly he had a woman in his room. Lucille wanted Greg and Joan to sleep in separate rooms. Lucille suggested that Joan would sleep on a futon, if not in a different room. Knowing Joan, Greg thought it was going to be a little bit of a tough conversation. He pictured Joan and his mom not getting along and things becoming very toxic between the two of them. Greg decided that if that happened, he would have to double down and find a place. However, he admitted that it would drain his bank account almost immediately. He was nervous about that
The
and
new
was
season of
shaking.
90
Day
Day
Fiancé has introduced fans to a fresh batch of international love stories, complete with all the drama, cultural clashes, and awkward family dynamics we've come to expect. Among the new cast members, one duo has already captured the attention and skepticism of viewers: Gregory Greg Chillack and his overbearing mother Lucille. If you've been watching season 11, you might have noticed striking similarities between this pair and the unforgettable Colt and Debbie Johnson from previous seasons. Could Greg and Lucille truly be the second coming of Colt and Debbie? Let's break it down. Gregory Chillack is a 33-year-old software engineer from San Diego, California. His fiancée Lena hails from Colombia, and the two met on a language exchange app. Greg is soft-spoken, introverted, and some might say, a bit too dependent on his mother, Lucille. Lucille, a retired schoolteacher, has a commanding presence and a knack for inserting herself into every aspect of Greg's life. She's a constant figure in their household, offering unsolicited advice and making her opinions about Lena well known. If you're a longtime fan of 90 Day Fiancé, you'll remember Colt Johnson and his mother, Debbie. Their codependent relationship was one of the defining storylines of their season. From sharing a home to Debbie's meddling in Colt's relationships, it was clear that any partner of Colt's would also be marrying Debbie in a sense. Here's why Greg and Lucille seem to be walking the same path. Just like Colt and Debbie, Greg and Lucille live together. While Greg claims that Lucille moved in temporarily after her divorce, it's clear that temporary has turned into something more permanent. Lucille has her own opinions about the decor, the groceries, and even the way Greg and Lena spend their evenings. Lena, like Larissa Colt's ex-wife, feels outnumbered and unwelcome in what is supposed to be her new home. Lucille's involvement in Greg's life is eerily reminiscent of Debbie's. From accompanying Greg to the airport to pick up Lena, to grilling Lena about her intentions during their first dinner together, Lucille has no qualms about stepping into the spotlight. Her protective nature goes beyond concern and borders on possessiveness, a trait that viewers found frustrating, yet entertaining, in Debbie. Greg, much like Colt, seems unable to set boundaries with his mother. Whether it's letting Lucille critique Lena's cooking or allowing her to chime in during private conversations, Greg's deference to Lucille creates tension in his relationship. Lena has already voiced concerns about feeling like she's competing with Lucille for Greg's attention, echoing sentiments shared by Colt's former partners. Lena's Colombian heritage introduces another layer of complexity to the relationship. Lucille's skepticism about Lena's intentions, whether she's in it for love or a green card, is reminiscent of Debbie's suspicions of Larissa and Jess. Cultural misunderstandings further fuel the drama, with Lucille often making comments that come across as ignorant or dismissive of Lena's background. The dynamic between Greg, Lucille, and Lena has all the makings of classic 90 Day Fiancé drama. Fans love a good love triangle, and while this isn't a romantic triangle, the emotional stakes are just as high. Social media is already abuzz with memes comparing Lucille to Debbie and dissecting Greg's inability to stand up for Lena. The hashtag Greg and Lucille is trending, and some fans are even calling for a spin-off featuring the mother-son duo. If history is any indication, Greg and Lena's relationship will face significant hurdles. Unless Greg can establish boundaries with Lucille, Lena may decide that the relationship isn't worth the drama. On the other hand, Lucille could surprise everyone by warming up to Lena and stepping back, but given the precedent set by Debbie, this seems unlikely. Greg and Lucille might not be exact copies of Colt and Debbie, but the similarities are hard to ignore. Their storyline offers a fascinating exploration of family dynamics, cultural differences, and the challenges of blending lives across borders. Whether Greg and Lena make it to the altar or not, one thing is certain: Greg and Lucille are here to keep us entertained. As we watch their journey unfold, we can only hope that Greg learns to balance his love for his mother with his commitment to Lena. If not, we might just have a new mother-son duo to rival the Johnsons in 90 Day Fiancé infamy. Come back to our channel for all your updates. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel.